Good morning. You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a podcast brought to you by Joy's House. We are so happy that you're here. Caregiver Crossing is a podcast that we created just for you, the caregiver. And I am Tina McIntosh.
I'm Terry Stacy. We're here every week with experts from across the country. We provide you some comfort, some resources, and some joy to you, our caregivers. Podcast serves really to kind of hug our family caregivers of today and tomorrow. As Tina said, we're so grateful that you're here with us today. Tina?
Today we get the honor of talking with Jan Dougherty, who is the founder and CEO of TravALZ. And it's really actually a very creative way she spelled it. It's Trav and then ALZ. So it gives you an indication of what she does. She is a nurse leader, innovator, and noted dementia care expert. As a change agent, Jan has been advancing care for people living with Alzheimer's disease and related dementias and their family caregivers. So through TravALZ, she is creating dementia-friendly travel solutions. Hear that again, dementia-friendly travel solutions for the travel industry and family caregivers.
This is just such an awesome idea. And before we get started, I'm going to share with you some numbers to help put Jan's important work into perspective. It's estimated that 5.8 million Americans and 50 million people worldwide are living with Alzheimer's disease or a related dementia. And by 2030, those numbers may grow to 130 million people worldwide. Travel is not only desired by many, but also necessary to stay connected to family and friends. Tina?
Jan, you have been, you've had a great love for older people. And the fact that you've been in the field for over 3 decades, I think, says that. But what was it that sparked that love for you?
Well, I think it really goes back to my childhood, to be honest with you. I came from a family with lots of great aunts and uncles and grandparents who I loved dearly. And one particular aunt, my Aunt Ollie, I loved sitting and just listening to her reminiscing. And in fact, as a brand new student nurse, my very first assignment was caring for a 92-year-old lady. And it's funny, I don't remember, she had a host of chronic conditions, but what I remember was just this ability to care for her and learn about her life. And as I reflected, well, of course it's consistent. It's what I loved growing up and spending time with my older relatives. So I guess it just was in my bones from a time I was a young girl and has continued on.
I have led a few tours here where I work at WIBC Radio, led groups to travel to Hawaii and to Alaska, taking some cruises. And it's interesting that those that may have had a dementia or had a dementia at the time, the loved one caring for them wanted to keep that quiet. They did not want us to know that the person on tour with us had a dementia of some sort. And you obviously have a love for traveling. Talk about how this particular company, TravALZ, has come to light. How did it get started?
Yeah, so it really came about in all my years, and I was working with the Banner Alzheimer's Institute, leading their family and community services team, and there we were doing diagnosis of people very early in their disease state, and we would sit down with the families and talk with the individual living with dementia and their partner and say, what's most important to you? What do you want to do here in the next few years, right? Because more of the brain is working than not, especially early on. And travel popped routinely as an issue. And so we really began to look at that. It's a quality of life sort of thing. But the reality is most people don't come to a Banner Alzheimer's Institute. They don't sit down with a nurse or social worker to really help counsel them and prepare them for successful travel. So I would hear people coming back who didn't have counsel, and the trip or the visit to the family and friends was a disaster. And it broke my heart because this often meant the end of traveling for that person and their family when it didn't have to be that way. And the other, I think, area that I think you raise that is so important, Terry, is just the stigma that we have related to somebody living with dementia. If you're living with Parkinson's disease or stroke or, think about another neurodegenerative disorder, you're not apologizing or trying to hide it, right? But we have this horrible image of what it means to be living with dementia. And rather than being proactive and talking to travel companions about how they can help support travel, and seeing just the sheer joy that people have traveling with dementia and living in the moment, right? We could learn so much from them rather than hurrying on to the next thing. I mean, they stay focused on the here and now and find the joy. That was really the motivation for me to want to write this book and to really create this company to say, hey, you know, there's this whole other area of life that we're forgetting about in the 8 to 10 years that people are going to live with this chronic condition and help them do better.
You're hearing the voice of Jan Dougherty, who is the founder and CEO of TravALZ. She's also the author of Travel Well with Dementia, Essential Tips to Enjoy the Journey. Were there any aha moments for you when you were writing the book?
You know, I think there were. One was the realization as I was writing it was that the same kind of counsel I was giving people to travel well is the same kind of counsel I talk about living well day to day at home, right? So these same tips work at home as they do on the travel. But then as I really drilled down into the travel specific and looking at the airlines and looking at the cruise lines and looking at transportation, it really struck me about the inequality that is there when we talk about people with cognitive disorders. So the autism community has been all over this industry, interestingly, and the airlines love and the cruise lines have these autism-friendly programs and they've trained their staff. But when I've approached the airlines and the cruise lines about, you know, what about dementia friendly? You know, you have more people traveling with dementia on your airline or your cruise line than you do kids with autism. And I don't want to take away from autism because I think it's likewise so important that these kids and families experience the joy of travel and staying connected. And we need to support them. But why would we want to support older adults? So again, it comes back to those stigmatizing ideas. In fact, one lovely gentleman who I've worked with, and I won't say the cruise line, but he's the disability coordinator. He said, look, we don't want to be known as the dementia cruise line, right? Because it's going to impact because again, our public perception of what it means to live with dementia is so negative that, you know, they're excluding this opportunity. So, you know, I kind of feel like my career now is in this area to just stir the pot and really challenge that and advocate for voices that aren't being heard, right? And it is a hidden disability.
Good for you. Good for you. We need more of you because you're right. I mean, that stigma of dementia and not wanting to be known, that particular cruise ship as the dementia cruise lines, more of us, I think, are touched by a dementia than ever before. And when we learn these numbers, give us some of your greatest tips for families, family caregivers that are going to be traveling with a loved one either now or soon or want to and not sure how to do it.
Well, first, you know, I always come back to the best trip that you'll have with or without a dementia is well planned, right?
Yeah.
Plan. You're really thinking through and you're always got a plan B because travel visits never go as we expect, right? Weather happens, delays happen. You know, this is just the reality of travel. So really detailed planning is good. The other part though that's really important is open and honest communication with others who you are traveling with or the company that you're going with to really help understand that yes, traveling with dementia will be different than in the past, but it can be successful. So just be honest, be realistic, and plan. And buy my book. So that'll give you a lot more detail.
Jan wrote the book, literally Travel Well with Dementia, Essential Tips to Enjoy the Journey. You can get it anywhere you get your books. I literally just placed my order while we were talking, Jan, on Amazon, and I can't wait to read it and share it with other people. Jan also was a guest on our Joy's House Town Hall that we had back in, I don't know, September, I think. And you can find that on joyshouse.org. She gave some incredible tips there as well. So Jan, we just thank you for what you're doing and for being with us this morning. Really great work.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for highlighting this issue for families.
Absolutely. If you want to learn more about Jan, you can buy her book and learn there. You can contact her at TravALZ or email me about that or anything at tina@joyshouse.org, or things you want to hear on the show. We want to hear from you too. So let us know. We will be back next week with another episode of Caregiver Crossing, and we hope you'll join us then. But until then, be well and take good care of each other.